Hello, this is Monica and I am an immigration lawyer. I've been working for Lexidy for the last 5 years and I'm the head of the immigration department in Spain. And today we are going to talk about the renewals of the residency permits that you have already obtained. So congratulations, because if you're watching this video, it's probably because you have already obtained your residency permits for Spain. So you have completed or you have achieved the most difficult part, which is obtaining the permit from scratch. So now the renewal process is much easier as long as you comply with the requirements that the law established for the renewal of your specific permit. This is very important because if you miss the deadline to submit your applications for renewal, you will lose your residency rights for Spain. And so in this case, you will have to start all over again. We don't want you to lose the opportunity to renew the permit, which is quite a straightforward process as long as you comply with the requirements. So as you know, there are different kinds of permits in order to reside in Spain. So now I'm going to explain you a little bit of each permit and what is required in order to renew it. First of all, we find the Non-Lucrative Visa or the Passive Income Visa. This is a permit that is thought for retirees or pensioners, but anyone who has the economic means and a health insurance in Spain can apply for it. This is a permit that does not come with a work authorization. So in order to renew the permit, you basically need to prove that you still have the money to reside in Spain. In this case, would be for 2 years instead of 1 because the renewals are granted for 2 years, and also that you keep your health insurance for Spain. That would be all in this case. Then we find also the work permits. There are different kinds of work permits in Spain, but basically the common denominator of this are that you are employed by a company in Spain. Basically, in order to renew your permit, you would need to prove that you're still having or you're still working for the same company, or in case of a residence and work permit as an employee from the general immigration law, that you have found another company that you work with, or comply with other, or you fall inside some circumstances that the law establishes. But in this case, you can contact our immigration lawyers at Lexidy, and we will let you know if you fall in any of these circumstances in order to be able to renew the permit. For those that are self-employed, you are the holders of the residence and work permit as self-employed. In order to be able to renew that, you only need to prove that you have paid the corresponding taxes to the administration. So as long as you have been doing that correctly, you would be fine in order to get the renewal of your permits. In any case, if you have doubts on how to pay taxes or if you need assistance with that, my colleagues from our accounting department will be able to help you with this. So we also find those that are investors and that have their permits under the Golden Visa scheme. So in order to renew that permit, you basically need to keep the investment that have you obtained the Golden Visa. Also, you will have to have enough economic means in order to reside in Spain during the validity of the renewal. And also, you will have to keep the health insurance for Spain. This is very important because in case you have not been residing in Spain during the authorization, the initial authorization, you still have to keep the health insurance in Spain. Otherwise, you might lose the rights even if you maintain the investment in Spain. And the last permit that we have recently have incorporated in our legal system is the Digital Nomad Visa. In order to renew the Digital Nomad Visa, you simply have to keep the same requirements for which the permit was granted. So if you wish to know if you keep the rights to reside in Spain under a Digital Nomad Visa, let us know. And if not, we will let you know your options in order to modify to another residency permit. So, if you wish to renew your permits, you're wondering what are the steps you need to follow in order to proceed with that. Basically, what you need to do first is to gather all the necessary documents that you will need for the renewal. Later, you can submit the application by electronic means. If you have a digital certificate, or if not, someone, for example, lawyers, can assist you with the renewal process. This can also be done in person by attending registry offices or the immigration offices, but it's much simpler if you do it online, because in this case you will only need scans of the documents that you need to present. So the second step would be, once the resolution from the immigration office has been released and you have been granted with the renewal, then you need to renew again your TIE card or foreigner identity card. For that, you will basically need to attend a police station in order to get your fingerprints done again, and then your card will be processed. Remember that if you have changed your accommodation or your place of residency, you will also need previously to register with the Padrón or census facilities and get a new one, an updated one, so you can provide that to the police and they can put the new address in your new cards. So maybe you're wondering when you need to start the process of renewal the residency permit. Well, in general, by law, you are allowed to present the application 60 days before your permit expires, and then you also have 90 days after your permit has been already expired. However, with that last deadline, you have to bear in mind that the administration can impose a fine. However, we have never seen that situation happen. So once the application has been submitted by electronic means or in person, maybe you're thinking how long it will take for you to get the final resolution granting you the renewal. So in this case, you have to bear in mind that if your residency permit is one of the general immigration law, let's say non-lucrative, residence and work permit, residence and work permit as self-employed, in this case, the law establishes a period of 3 months for the administration to approve or reject the permit. In case the administration does not resolve during these 3 months, you have the right to request them the approval of the renewal because of the silence of the administration. However, if your permit is one of those from the entrepreneurs or golden visa law, in this case, the administration has 20 working days, which is about a month approximately, in order to resolve the renewals application. In this case, if the administration does not resolve during that deadline of 20 working days, you also have the right to request the approval by administrative silence. Okay, so now maybe you're thinking, what can go wrong with my application? It can be denied? Well, actually, if you comply with the requirements, they should not be denied. However, we have found some immigration offices that are toughest than others when requesting some additional documents that maybe others are not requesting. In any case, we are here to help you and try to find a solution in order for you to renew your permits and keep residing in Spain as you have been doing that before. So in case the permit is rejected, we will need to see the causes of that rejection. Can an appeal make sense? Can we provide new documents that prove them wrong? Or they have all the rights to reject the permit because you have not complied with the requirements for the renewal? We would need to see case by case what are the reasons and what are the solutions. In any case, my personal advice would be to submit the application during the first 60 days that you are allowed to do so before your permit expires, because this way we give time to the administration to resolve your applications, and in case the permits are rejected, we would still have time to maybe submit a new application, changing the documents or trying to reconduct the situation in order to get the renewal approved, because we would also have 90 extra days after your permits expire. In any case, if you are the holder of a residency permit and you wish to switch to a new residency permit, we would need to check what are your circumstances and if it's possible to apply for a modification. For example, you are under a non-lucrative residency permit and you receive a job offer from a company in Spain. Can you submit a modification of this permit into a residence and work permit? The answer is yes, but in order to be able to do so, you would need to prove that you have been resident in Spain for 1 year at least. However, the modification process can be submitted 60 days before your actual permit is going to expire. So let's say that the non-lucrative permit is valid until June 2024. We would be able to submit the application in April 2024, and this way you would comply with the 1 year residency in order to be able to modify the permit into residence and work permit. But you can contact us and we will give you the options you have in order to do so. There is so many people asking us if while the applications for the renewal have been submitted, they can travel outside of Spain. The answer is yes, you can do so. And depending on where you're going to travel, you will need what is called a return authorization. So if you're traveling inside the Schengen area, since there are no border controls, you would not need any kind of authorization in order to leave Spain. If you're trying to leave the Schengen area, in this case, my suggestion would be to request a return authorization. For that, you just need to attend a police station with an appointment and request this authorization so you can leave the Schengen area and then return, and you are not stopped by the border authorities. However, this authorization only works if you enter the Schengen area directly through Spain, because if you're traveling to another country, they will not recognize this kind of authorization. So this is something that you need to keep in mind. In any case, if you're not able to obtain the return authorization, my suggestion would be to bring with you the receipt of the application online or in presence of the renewal process, as well as your old TA if it has already expired, because if you already have your TA which is valid, then you would not have problems in order to leave Spain in any case. A very common question that some clients or people are asking us is what happens if they have spent more than 6 months outside of Spain while they had their initial authorization. Well, in the major of the cases, if you have spent more than 6 months out of Spain, there are high chances that your renewal process is rejected, because you are considered a resident in Spain if you reside at least half of the year in Spain. Therefore, we can try to submit the renewal applications, but you have to bear in mind that there's the possibility that these are rejected because you have not been an actual resident in Spain. This does not apply for Golden Visa investors, because the law here states that as long as you visit Spain once during the authority of the permit and you keep the investment, of course, then you are okay in order to renew the permit and get 5 more years of residency in Spain under this scheme. Well, so we are at the end of this video, and I hope this information has helped you in order to understand how this renewal process works. But in any case, if you have any questions, you can contact us, and one of my colleagues or me will be able to help you with the renewal process. Or if you wish to have a personal consultation, you can give a click on the link on the description and you will be able to hire a personal consultation with us. Thank you very much.